I'm starting a new series today that we're going to continue for the next several weeks, kind of all around the idea of what healthy relationships look like. And we're going to talk about love and dates and heartbreaks and the stuff that some of you live every day. But before we do that, let me tell you, let me give you a little humor. So this husband and wife go to the grocery store one day, and the husband says to the wife, "Listen, just stay in the car. I'll be right back. Don't come in. I'm going to go get what we need, and I'll be back." And so about 15 minutes later, she's waiting. 15 minutes later, he comes out of the grocery store, and as he does, all these police officers come out of nowhere and bombard him. And so she sees kind of all this action, and she jumps out of the car, and she sees that they're arresting him. So she runs over, and she's like, "What happened?" And the police officer's like, "Ma'am, do you know this man?" She's like, "Yeah, it's my husband." "Well, he shoplifted." And she's like, "What?" And the cop's like, "Yeah, we're taking him in. You can see him tomorrow morning when he goes before the judge." So the next morning comes, and he's standing before the judge, and then the judge says, "So, sir, what did you take?" And he said, "Well, I just took these 2 bags," and his wife's sitting behind him, and he says, "What were in the bags?" And he says, "Well, there were apples in the bags." "Really? Well, how many?" "Well, there was 4 in this bag, and there's 4 in the other bags." The judge says, "Well, that's 8. So here's the deal. I'm going to sentence you to 8 days in the county jail." And without skipping a beat, his wife jumps up and says, Your Honor, he's lying. He stole a bag of rice, too." You back and watch a live stream if you missed that. All right? This will be up a little bit later. But, relationships are funny, right? Relationships can be complicated. And I really believe that God gives us some good guidelines, some things to think about when it comes to maintaining healthy relationships. And so this series that we're going to move into, it's for those of you that are students, or maybe you're grads, or you're a single person and you're dating, or you're thinking about dating, or maybe you're single again and you're going to start dating again and you're thinking about that. But I also want to talk to those of you that are married and would like to stay that way. Because here's the thing in my job that is often very, very difficult. When couples call me and say, "Pastor, can we come talk to you?" It's usually because on the continuum of a problem starting and getting to the place where it's like we don't know what to do and we're about to throw in the towel, it's usually right here where they call me. Right? And it's and I'm not a miracle worker, but I do sit back sometimes and I watch people and I watch them make relationship decisions that undermine their relationships. I mean, there's enough unavoidable relationship pain that any relationship goes through. But the stuff that we can avoid, I watch that and I start to think to myself, have you thought that through? Or that thing that you're becoming wrapped up in, have you seen that work out for anybody else? Because I'm going to tell you right now, it's not going to work out for you either. And then I think to myself, did anybody warn you? Did anybody sit down with you and say, when it comes to relationships, think about these things? And so that's what I want to do for the next few weeks. I want to give you some really good guidelines to build and to maintain healthy relationships around. I met a young man who was in college, and I was talking to him about relationships, and I said, "So, what's your approach for finding the right person?" And he's like, "I don't know." He goes, "I'm just going to play the field until I do." I said, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah." He goes, I got time. I said, "So what I'm hearing you say is it's just going to be process of elimination, one day after this whole string of people, you're like, oh, there it is." He's like, "Well, when you put it that way." I'm like, "Well, that's kind of what it sounds like." And what happens is, it's kind of like, you use people, right? And then you lose them when they're not the right one. And not only does it hurt you, but it hurts other people. And I don't think any of us wants to do that. Nobody wakes up and says, "I'm going to use as many people as I can until I find the right one." I don't think we do that. But if we do, we kind of set ourselves up as not being truth tellers. And when you tell your story, you're going to be tempted to not tell every part of it, especially the parts that you don't want to tell. And here's the thing, if you live that way, you're going to be somebody's regret. Because when they tell their story, they're going to say something about you. And I don't want you to find yourself in that position. And guys, if that's the approach that you take, it's not helping you, and it's definitely not guarding the hearts of the people that have been entrusted to you. And ladies, if I could, I just want to say this to you. I don't want you to get used and to be treated like you're some kind of a commodity. Like, what's a commodity? It's something that we buy and we trade, and eventually we discard it. And here's the problem. A lot of our confusion regarding relationships stems from two myths. And I want to debunk them today with you. Here's the first one. It's called the right person myth. And it's this idea, and maybe you've heard this, that once you find the right person, everything's going to be all right. It'll be all right, regardless of what you do between now and then. I can play around now, and you know what? My past will disappear. I just haven't met them yet. Or you thought you did, and you moved in, and you married him, and you married her, and now things aren't all right anymore, so I must have chosen the wrong person. And now, we start looking for the next right person. Now listen, when I put it that way, it sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? But I have to tell you, everything in our culture reinforces this notion. Once I find him, everything's going to be fine. You think everything's going to be fine, including you. And I love the line in the Casey Musgraves song that says, thinking will be fixed by someone else. Then this idea infects our decisions. And it fuels our fantasies that somehow there's something better out there and we just haven't found it yet. And when we do, I'll be okay, and they'll be okay, and we'll all be okay. And I just have to say something to you. There's more to a satisfying relationship than finding or being found. There's more, a lot more. We don't hear much about more because more doesn't make for entertaining TV. It definitely doesn't make for good reality TV. By the way, has anybody seen all the reality shows that are out there? It's unbelievable. And we wonder why relationships are going to hell in a handbasket. Like, really? You don't need Temptation Island to build a good relationship. I hope to show you that today. But it also takes more than just making a commitment. There's this promise myth. In the realm of relationships, we operate around this premise that a promise replaces the need for preparation. This myth suggests that you can commit, you can promise, you can vow your way into a successful and satisfying future. And all of that came before in your life, all that came before in your relationships can be overcome with a promise and a big party that you spend lots of money on. But here's the thing. Promises are not a substitute for preparation. We know this to be true in every area of life. This week, my son is preparing to take the PSAT. Now, my son can come to me and go, Dad, I promise I'm going to do well. I promise I'm going to do well. I promise I'm going to do well. And I'm going to turn to him and say, what are you doing to prepare to do well? Right? Sports teams know this. At the beginning of the last basketball season, the coach of U of M didn't declare to all of us that are U of M fans, I promise you that I'm going to win the national championship. What did he say? I'm going to prepare this team. I'm going to prepare them because you don't promise to win games. You prepare to win. You don't promise to win at a relationship. You prepare to win at relationships. And by the way, when it comes to relationships, commitment is way overrated, because I just want to say to you, I do doesn't mean I can. In fact, saying I do doesn't make a person capable. It only makes them accountable. And watch now. When you're accountable but you're not capable, you're going to be, say it. When you are accountable but you're not capable, you are going to be miserable. And if you aren't preparing, you're not going to be prepared. And this is where choosing to follow Jesus makes all the difference. And you might be here saying, I'm not really sure about that. I'm searching that out. I'm not sure about faith. I've got a lot of questions, or been there, done that, bought the book, I have this shirt. Stay with me. Stay with me here. When you're accountable but not capable, you're going to be miserable. So here's what I would suggest to you. I know it's early, and I hope you had your coffee. Become the kind of person that the person you're looking for is looking for. Let's say that together. Ready? Become the kind of person the person you're looking for is looking for. Here's the question. If you're thinking about relationships, if you're thinking about dating at some point, you think you settle down, or maybe you're going to settle down again because your relationship didn't work, or whatever it might be, instead of saying, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to find the right person. When I find the right person, I'm going to make a commitment, and that's going to complete me, and everything's going to be okay. But the problem is this. Ready? This is profound. Wherever you go, there you are. And whatever stuff was wrong in the previous relationship that has to do with the work that needs to be done in you, you're going to carry it into the next relationship. Because wherever you go, there you are. So instead of saying, I just need to find the next person, find the right person, make a commitment, settle down, why don't you ask yourself this question? Are you the person that the person you're looking for is looking for? So we better take a picture of that and read that over a few times. And by the way, if you're married and you're in a relationship, here's your version. Are you still the person they were looking for? Or have you allowed life and kids and money turn you into something else? And Jesus steps in and he introduces this new relational paradigm. And it sounds simple, but it's demanding. And it's compelling. But it's going to be rewarding, and it is simple, but it's going to demand something from you. And the rewards of that are going to pay dividends. And when we understand correctly, it makes us want the story and the message of Jesus to be true, even before we believe it's true. And when it comes to finding the right person, Jesus didn't offer any advice. There's no advice in the Bible about finding the right person, but there's a ton that he taught about becoming the person that God would have you to be. So he's talking to the 12 apostles, and he illustrates it this way. He says, I am the true vine, say vine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit. Why? Any gardeners here? So if you know anything about gardening, particularly with flowers, when you prune them back, normally they grow more fuller. Like we have flowers at our house every summer. And sometime in mid-July, when it's the heat of the summer, I'm like, why have the flowers just stopped growing? And somebody said to me, you need to give them a haircut. It's going to be really painful, Dan, but you have to do it. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, just cut everything away and leave about this much. I'm like, really? The plant's like this big. He goes, just do it and you'll see. And so you cut everything, you cut all of the extra away, and within 2 to 3 weeks, that thing is back with more blooms than you can imagine, and it's blossoming. And this is what Jesus is saying. Look, I'm the vine, Jesus says. My Father is the gardener, God, the one that you want to be a part of this. He's the gardener. I'm the vine, and You're the branches. You need to stay connected through me. And while every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes so that it will be even more fruitful. See, the goal is to bear fruit. By the way, your life bears fruit. Whether you put it that way or not, every one of you, your life bears fruit. It could be your reputation. It could be the way people feel when they're around you. It could be the result of decisions that you make. And here's what we know. Here's what I know, certainly in my life, and maybe it's true of you too. Sometimes I don't like all the fruit. Sometimes I look at some of it and I say, ugh. Maybe cut that away. You have a wake that you leave behind you in your life that not only affects you, but it affects other people. It affects your relationships. So Jesus comes in and he says, look, you remain in me as I also remain in you. Here's why. I want you to stay connected to me and I want you to follow me. And here's why. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It has to remain in the vine. It's like the branch looks to the vine for help. It looks to the vine for life. It looks to the vine for nourishment. And what he's basically saying here is we can't bear fruit that reflects Christ in our lives without staying connected to him. Right? Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. You can read every book you want on relationships, and some of those you will find helpful. But fundamentally, if you want your relationships to thrive, if you want your life to thrive, you stay connected to the vine. You stay connected to Jesus. He says, you're not going to bear fruit unless you remain in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear what? Much fruit. But apart from me, you can do nothing. And then he goes on, he says, look, disconnect. If you disconnect from me, you're going to be like a branch that withers. And then he defines what he means by fruit. Next statement is so powerful. He says, as the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Now, remain in my love. What? What are you suggesting? To stay connected to you and to your love? This is why following Jesus changes everything. Here's the surprise. If you keep my commands, you will remain in my love. Oh, so now here we go. Here it is. So remaining in your love, following you, staying connected is about doing a list of commands. What are they? Ready for what Jesus says? My command is this. Read it with me. Love each other. Love each other. Wait a minute. There's only one? We remain connected to you and by bearing fruit, and bearing fruit by keeping one command, love each other. Wait, I thought this was about staying connected to you, not being connected to others. Like, how do we know we're keeping this command? It's a little open-ended. My commandment is this: you love each other as I. Jesus says, oh, that's right. We're taking our cues from you. You're the vine. We're the branches. We're going to stay connected somewhere. We're going to draw life off of something, all of us. He's saying, look, my command is you love each other as I stay connected, as I have loved you. This is the kind of love that says put others first. This is the kind of love you lay down your life for a friend. This is the kind of love that allows you to forgive others. A love that says, I do for others as you, God, have done for me. And then, when all of this whole discourse was over and he was talking with them, a few days later, he puts on a demonstration of that love that would take their breath away. You know why? Because it took his breath away. And he laid down his life. And this is what Jesus means by abiding in him. It's about allowing the love that God has for you to first flow through you and the fruit that your life bears so that it can be a blessing to others. Couples come in sometimes to talk to me, and some of you might be thinking, oh man, we got to make an appointment. But I'll give away the first 5 minutes of nearly every appointment. I don't ask them to communicate and all the things that get in the way of relationships. I always start with a question. Tell me about your walk with Jesus. And I don't want to hear about you as a couple. I want to hear about it as individuals. I wish I would have made a slide for this, but you're going to have to use your imagination. I want you to imagine for a moment on the screen here that at the top of the screen here, it says God. You with me so far? On the bottom left-hand side of the screen, it says Dan Quagliata. That's me. Over here on this side of the screen, it says Jill Quagliata. That's my wife. And I want you to imagine God's up here, Jill's here, I'm here, and what happens? What happens as I grow closer to the Lord and Jill goes closer to the Lord? What's also happening? We're growing closer to each other. I'm growing, she's growing, we're growing. This is the goal, to remain connected to the vine. I'm a branch, she's a branch, connected to the same vine so that we can bear fruit. And here's the deal, where we get caught up is we think, well, if I find the right person and make the right commitment, or worse yet, we think this, once we're married, they'll change. Oh, no, they'll just make you more nuts. Because you don't change anybody, and nobody changes you. Staying connected to the vine, Jesus, that's what changes you. And then we start loving each other, not with a love that we conjure up on our own, but with the love that Christ has loved us with. And so when I blow it again and again, and I say to my wife, why do you put up with this? And she says, because, Dan, you have no idea how much God puts up with me. And I love you because he loves me. That's where my love for you comes from. And in reference to Christ's love, St. Augustine made this comment, love and do what you will. Love and do what you will. This is how you become a person worth looking for. And if you're married or you're in a relationship, how you become a person worth staying for. It's how you prepare to commit. It's how you stay committed. And as we're going to learn next time we're together, the kind of person Jesus leads his followers to become is the kind of person we're all ultimately looking for and ultimately want to become. One more time. The kind of person Jesus leads his followers to become is the kind of person we're all ultimately looking for and ultimately want to become. Now listen, if you're sitting here and you're saying, Dan, come on. If love one another seems a little too open-ended, a little too permissive, a little too undefined, maybe even feels a little bit dangerous, don't miss next week because we're going to look at the fine print. We're going to break this down a little bit. But let me tell you, the fine print will make you worth finding and keeping, not losing and weeping. I want you to have relationships that thrive. If you're in a marriage right now, I want your marriage to thrive. If you're on the other side of a marriage that didn't go the way you wanted it to go, and you're thinking to yourself, I think I might want to settle down at some point. Instead of making it your point to find the right person, why don't you decide today to become the kind of person that the person you're looking for is looking for? Maybe you're single. You're thinking about getting married, or you're dating. I'm going to tell you right now, there's no better commitment that you can make than to stay connected to the vine. Stay connected to Jesus. And allow God to do in you what needs to be done. Let's pray. Thanks, God, for the opportunity to be together today. And relationships are hard. I know that. It takes work. It's not easy. Sometimes we have to prune the things away that get in the way. But in all of it, God, we need you. We need you to teach us and to mold us and to change us. And so I pray for my friends who are here today, who are watching this. Maybe they are single and thinking about dating, or maybe they're involved in a relationship, or some of my friends here today who are married, or maybe others who are thinking about being married again. Perhaps instead of looking for the right person, by being connected to you, we might become the right person that somebody's looking for. That instead of making promises, we would make preparations to become all that you have asked us to be, to remain in you and have you remain connected to us, so that your love and your power and your grace and all that we need might flow through us into the relationships you call us to. And for all of this, God, we just say thank you. In Jesus' name.